Bike here, CBI Off-Road. Today we're going to be showing you how to install our 3rd Gen 4Runner rear bumper. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so one of the first steps we're going to be doing is obviously removing the factory bumper. One of the first steps to that is you're going to have to remove, if you have the flares here, you have to remove your flares. This customer already has theirs removed. And then there's going to be one 12mm bolt through right here. So there's one bolt here. There's obviously one on the other side. And then we have this bracket here that comes up, and we have 2 bolts into the body here that we're going to go ahead and remove that are both 12mm. They're going to be the same thing on the other side as well. All right, so our next step is we're gonna have to remove this plastic trim piece on top of the rear bumper, but it just pops off. It's just held in by clips. So you just need to pull up on it and that'll come off. And now we just have some bolts right here on the side that need to come out, and we should be good to take this thing off. All right, so once we have our 2 bolts off this bracket and the one on the outside here, we have one more bolt that's right up here that we're gonna go ahead and unbolt from this bracket here that's holding it to the body. So once we get that one out, then we can move on to the top bolts. All right, so now we got the bumper off. These brackets we had here that were bolted to, we're gonna go ahead and unbolt those. There's 2 bolts here and then 1 bolt right up underneath. I already have the bottom bolt out, so we'll take these 2 out and this bracket will be off. All right, so once the brackets are off, you're gonna have these 2 empty holes here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the bolts back in with a little bit of silicone so it seals them off so we don't get, water and moisture and stuff back behind this panel. All right, so we're gonna do the same thing with these holes from these brackets here. Again, we don't want moisture and stuff getting behind this panel, so we're gonna just use the factory bolts. We're gonna throw a little silicone on them. We're gonna tighten them down. All right, and so the last but not least is going to be this bottom hole below your 2 side ones. Don't want to forget about that one. We'll again put a little bit of silicone on there, and we'll go ahead and seal that up. Of course. All right, so now with the bumper off and all of our brackets, everything out of the way, we need to drill another hole in this frame back here. And so we're gonna drill from the furthest back hole, and we're gonna go 3 7/8 from the center of it back, or 3.875, depending on what you're using to measure that. And so I'm just going to measure from the center. I'm gonna give myself a mark. And then I'll measure this, center that, and then we'll have a spot to drill a hole, and we'll do that on both sides. All right, so we got our mark here, and I just took my punch, punched a hole, center punch hole right there, so that I can have a good spot to start drilling. We'll drill this out to a 3/8 hole.
It's kind of one of those like, I'm not gonna be able to get this.
All right, so one thing, we're getting ready to put the bumper actually on right now, but we do need to remove this exhaust hanger. So we're just gonna pull it off because we have a brace that comes back on the bar that's gonna have to come through here. It's gonna bolt in through this side. And so we'll just remove this real quick, and then we'll get ready to put the bumper on. All right, so one thing that we're gonna do on this one is we have this white vent here that we're gonna go ahead and we're just gonna paint it black. We got kind of masked off, but we're gonna paint it black just to kind of keep it hidden. We don't want it to be able to kind of be seen, whether it be from kind of a back angle, whatever it may be. But this is just an option. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna clean this thing up, and we're gonna spray paint it black. Down. All right, so now with our bumper up there, we have 4 different holes along the bottom, and then we have 1 on the side. These 2 center holes here, we provide you with some 12 by 1.25 bolts. They should have a captured nut from the factory in there where your hitch would have been. This vehicle didn't have a hitch, but we're gonna reuse those holes. So we're gonna thread these in there to help hold it up in place, and then we'll show you where the other 3 go. All right, so you're gonna get 2 stick nuts just like this. And so these 2 are gonna go in the furthest back. So we have 1 hole that's right here at the very back, and then we have a hole on the side here where the other one's gonna come through. So we'll put that bottom one in first real quick. That one drops down. We can put our nut on it. All right, with that one in place, now we'll put the other one in, and it's gonna come through the side. All right, so we got our 2 rear ones in, we got the 2 centers, and now we have the one last one, which is going to be our very back one that we drilled the hole out for. And we're going to go ahead and just stick our provided hardware in there, and then we'll go ahead and tighten that up just by hand. We don't want to tighten any of these down all the way yet, because we want to be able to move this bumper if we want to move it a little bit side to side or back and forth, you know, get it nice and even. So once we got all of our hardware in there, it's all hand tight, we can adjust the bumper and then we can tighten everything up. All right, so once we got our bumper on, we got all of our hardware all hand tight. So where I'm gonna be go ahead and matching this up is I'm gonna be matching it up to the flare. So I just want this line right here to be pretty even. This one needs to go back maybe a little bit. Get that lined up, go to the other side, make sure the other side's lined up. Once you have it set in place where you want it, we can go ahead and tighten everything up. All right, so we got our bumper on. Don't forget, put your exhaust hanger back on. I just sprayed some WD-40 so it'd slide on there pretty easy. And once that's on, it should be pretty much finished up. All right, so we're gonna need to drill 2 different holes in this frame to mount up our bumper all the way. So you're gonna need a 1/2-inch drill bit. We use a step bit, makes things simple. You can drill a small pilot hole and then use a step bit and finish it off. Makes it just a lot simpler. But again, just a regular set of drill bits works perfectly fine. But it does help to start with a small drill bit first to start your pilot hole and then move on upward from there. So if you don't have a stilt drill bit, you just need a regular 1/2-inch drill bit to get things started. Yeah, this one just goes right through it.
Yeah, it was better.
All right, so with our last hole drilled, we can go ahead and put our last 1/2-inch bolt through and tighten it up. All right, so that takes care of the install of our 3rd Gen 4Runner rear bumper. If you guys have any questions or concerns, you guys can give us a call here at CBI Off-Road or email us. Thanks.